Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, the Riverside app, it's getting better. They just like announced this thing I saw on their X account, like the Riverside 2.0 kind of deal or whatever. So I don't know. Hopefully it's getting better and everything, but I think it's been a little buggy. So sorry about that, dude.
Oh, dude, it is all good, man. So you were talking about Hormozy and Chris podcast?
Yeah, dude, I love whenever they get together. It's like this one, it's crazy though. They just posted it like 2 days ago. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. It's like a 4-hour podcast. I'm like,
yeah,
how do you guys, it's insane, but yeah, they're legends. I always love their stuff,
Dude, so cool, man. That one podcast they filmed was epic. They were kind of in the garage gym setting.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. I feel like they really kind of get they're similar age. So I think they kind of jive when they're talking, but it's cool, man. Are you coming for practice, dude? Or are you
no
okay,
no, dude, I've just been hammering with the new model, dude. It's back.
Fable is back. I mean, it felt like the perfect day to reunite on the Shoreline pod,
I know. It's like, what the heck? The timing lined up. Daria was waiting for us. He was waiting for us to like get ready to record the episodes. Okay, we'll drop it on that day.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
So have you used it yet much, or have you tried it out yet or anything?
So I used it when it came out initially, but I haven't used it since it's been back. You've been using it for video stuff, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I've been using it for video stuff. I mean, and I did, like, that was one of the first things I kind of used it for when it initially came out too, was like the video stuff. And that's something we've been kind of like trying to figure out is like, how can you use these models to basically build like a content engine, like a flywheel, it just kind of, builds itself and everything. And part of that is like the models being able to edit videos. Yeah. And it's so cool, dude. They're actually like so good at it now. It's so wild. And so, that was one of the first things that I applied it for. Is like one of the things that we do is like we get like a bunch of like raw footage of just like, interviewing, stuff like that, recording, and then like, so I always have the stockpile actually of raw footage like that, and then can point the models at it and say like, hey, like, basically make a transcript out of it. So you can like analyze what's being talked about, and then like do research about like, okay, how do you make a viral clip, or like, how do you make a good piece of content? And then like, based on that strategy, like, clip it up, and then it like kind of make a plan to clip it up at least. And then we'll like, have another agent go and cut it up using that tool hyperframes like that we talked about and everything. So it's just so wild. And that was one of the first things that I pointed at. And I was just impressed that like, I thought that it did a good job of picking out really good moments, like pretty like interesting moments. So we're well aligned with what we were kind of trying to go for. And in like the style too, that we gave it, like they're really good now. Like if you give it like an input style, or like, okay, this is what like good looks like, and like make something that looks like this design style, then it's much better at like making something good, I feel like, than if you just let it go and freestyle. I feel like that's the thing where they don't have taste, like fully.
Yeah. No, I mean, luckily when we're talking, everything's interesting, so it's kind of like it's easy for it to filter out. But I'm just joking around. But no, I mean, I totally feel that, man. It's like, and just for context, Enzo he works with us at Mach 1, and we put out a lot of videos now, thanks to him and his team. And it's great because we literally just film raw footage of ourselves talking, and then basically send it over to Enzo, and he has the whole thing transcripted out, and then he just sends over the finished product. So it's super cool. And I don't know how much I know you have some manual parts of that and some automation, but I'm sure you don't want to give away the secret sauce, but you've shown me the Figma page.
No, I'm down to.
You've shown me the Figma page of your Instagram where you have the formula like super dialed in. So I'd be curious to hear more about that.
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh. That's been one of the things too, is that, I feel like, I honestly feel like some of these tools like, Figma and stuff like that have been in a really tough spot recently. Just with like, I mean, when you look at they had a big IPO, like I think it was like a year ago or something like that. And then it just, just this whole question of like, do you need a design tool like Figma? If like, a tool like Claude Design comes out, and like these models, like, are they able to just do good design? Like, do you really need a tool like that? It's, and the same kind of question about, like things like Photoshop, or, these really classic tools that have just like always been a part of how people like built stuff. It's just like kind of been in question a little bit.
Yeah.
And but they've been doing a really good job. I feel like they've been hammering, man. And they just had a recent like event, their annual event, I think it's called Config, and they announced like a bunch of stuff. And now they have like motion design, like motion graphics and motion videos you can make inside of Figma with their like design agents. So I haven't gotten to go too deep on that yet, but I've been really impressed with just their openness to letting, you know, like platforms like Claude Code or like Codex like interface with Figma like really well. Like they do a lot of work on their MCP tools, you know, and making sure that it's like kind of, I feel like they're always working on that. And I just have noticed that that's been getting a lot better. And so we kind of, dude, we have this whole like playbook, you know, like kind of I used to manually make all these frames, you know, basically I have like all of these design files, like all this context, all this ammo from just being a designer my whole career. Yeah. So like all these Figma files, you know, of a lot of different work that I've done and projects I've done. And I think that's the way that I think about this stuff. You know, I think we kind of talked about this a little bit before, like the building blocks and stuff. Yeah. But I just think that Figma is trying to position themselves to be that kind of infrastructure, you know, like be one of those building block kind of things, but wild times.
No, it's so cool. I mean, it made me think, I think we've talked about it before about specialization and kind of if you're really good at a certain thing, does that translate over into AI? Do you get even better at it relative to other people? I mean, I was just kind of prepping up for this conversation, and I was going through your Twitter, and I was noticing some of the like designs that you make, particularly the Google Thread one. That I thought was really cool because it had a needle, and then it had the kind of this cool animation threading through the little hole. And no matter how long I spent with ChatGPT Image 2.0 or whatever, I'm not making something like that. So it kind of made me think. It kind of made me think, like, you know, it's just cool that having the skill set. It seems to be amplifying people where they're good. Which I think is kind of such a cool thing.
100%, dude. I feel like I was just thinking about this. I feel like it's like a renaissance of creatives right now, you know, like whether you're like a software creative or even if you're making like hardware, like a little hardware type of device, or like people are 3D printing. I see people 3D printing stuff and, you know, putting like a Raspberry Pi in there and then like coding with it. Like you can build like the barrier to entry is so low just to build stuff, you know, like I'll build to start. Even I've even noticed, like, you know, as we're doing a bunch of work on, like, we start up these new social media channels and things like that, and just like are uploading videos. Like these platforms are making it so much easier they want you to create, you know. It's just like, it's never been easier. I feel like been easier like to create, you know, and kind of share your stuff out there. And there's so much different stuff that you can build with it. That sure. I've felt like I just love that style. I kind of basically like I take like an image, or I start with doing like a Google image kind of search, like a classic Google image search where you know, you get the whole feed of video of images and stuff. And I like kind of try to pick a style that I like. Yeah. And then I take that and I gave it to Google Gemini. Okay. And I told Gemini to like describe the art style in length. Like I said, like write like paragraphs about like the design style, and I copied that and then gave it to Image Gen 2. And then Image Gen 2 like use that like detailed description, kind of like a prompt to make that image. And then I would just do that for I use that same kind of prompt for like that design style for every single one of the blog posts, like, you know, thumbnails that you saw, you know. Yeah. And so that's why we try to create that same kind of consistent style. That's what I'm trying to do with the videos, you know, dude. Like to get like to make a style that we think is really cool, you know. And like even now, soon with like motion graphics and things like that, like how do you build a template almost that's like to our brand, like our company that we really like, then we can, like, you know, build all sorts of different stuff from that, you know, package style almost. But for sure, that's kind of how we did it.
No, very, very cool. I was kind of, I mean, shifting gears a little bit. I was telling, like I was saying, our forward deployed engineer, Sam, was in town last week, and I was telling him about what you were telling me, how you were working with your mobile app. You were working on, what is it called? Marble. and you were making edits from the bench chair in the gym. I think that concept is just crazy.
Yeah. It's so wild. Like just the way that, again, the barrier to entry being so low, you know, like it was so like recently that I remember I was like hammering away in these coding classes, like trying to get something to just run and it would just break, or even just like a website or a web app, like trying to get the design to just not look broken. It was just like so hard to do it. And now it's literally like you just describe the outcome, and then these things just magically go off and create that outcome. It's wild, even more so now with Fable 5 and the GPT-6 5.6 model and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious what you think of this theory. I've been thinking about this theory since I heard this from you, actually, that basically maybe the kind of normal back end developer kind of type persona is no longer going to be a thing. Maybe the engineers are going to have to be really involved in the product they're designing and building, because, for example, it looks okay. I feel like the person's going to have to be really involved in the design process. For example, you are on the bench actually making edits to the app, and I feel that traditionally an engineer, they might be in the back office getting assigned to punch away a bunch of code. Whereas now I feel like that's not as much of a thing, because the person who's this, I mean, maybe for massive applications like a Salesforce or something like that, you have someone who's kind of in an isolated part of what they're doing. But I don't know what you think about that thought.
Dude, I think that's totally right on the money. Like you have to you're able to be so much closer to the source. I feel like it's so much cooler. And I think that's maybe one of the things that, it just before I think you could really have a great advantage of being like really good at that deep, technology and not ever talking to the customer or like thinking about what the business model is or like, whatever, like, I'm just going to focus on this little optimization thing or like, fixing these bugs and stuff. And I just think that kind of person, you really want people, I think now, that are really close to the customer or to, what the end goal is, are really, really in touch with basically like what that end goal is, like what's the mission of the company, what's everybody doing and working on. And, I think that that'll just be will be way more close to that. And part of that is like, people building these individual apps like that, where you're just like in the experience and like with me, like with the workout app, I'm just like benching and I just noticed like, oh my God, like I wanted to be able to see like, what my highest, like the heaviest bench that I've done was like 5 reps. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to hit 5 reps. It would be sick if I could see like right there, like, oh, the most that I've done before is like, 185 or something like that. Right, and so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll go a little bit harder than that, like 5 pounds more or something to try to beat that. If you just have that data at your fingertips. Like that would be sick. And I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so cool. And so you just have these, but you only really have those ideas if you're in the weeds, like you're in the trenches and you're really doing the work and you're thinking about it and just curious and you're like, oh, it could be better.
For sure. I think
before
that's
I would
so
not want to
true.
do it because it'd be too painful.
Yeah, because you gotta fire up the whole monitor and you gotta have like your whole code base up and find the little thing, how to fix it. It's not worth it,
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I think about Chris, who's our CEO of Mach 1. He's always talking about how AI enables you to do things where the economics of hiring humans didn't make sense to do before. And I feel like that is a huge majority so far of what a lot of the AI use cases are. And it's not because automating what humans used to do is not a huge thing. I mean, that's a huge thing. But I feel like just because the total amount of what's possible with AI is just so ginormous that what was not possible before outweighs the section of the economy that's being automated by humans, or that's being automated, that's automating what was previously done by humans. So I think that's such an exciting thing, man.
Dude, 100%.
Like you said, you're on the very edge of your app and the use case of your app. and you're able to really run into it. It's almost like when you're pushing the boundaries as hard as you possibly can. Like it's like in pole vaulting, when you're pushing the boundary as hard as you can, like you're eventually going to fail, but that's because you're pushing it hard. And that's really where you learn, is that right when you're at the very edge of your potential. And I just don't think if you're not involved in the actual app, like you're not going to see those things that it's not running well. You're like, oh, from a bird's eye view, it's running perfect. But you see those things in the weeds. So I think that's so exciting.
Dude, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I totally hear you. I think that was so beautifully said. And I think that that's so important. I mean, I don't know what you think about this, but for like that, having that mindset in like this, just generally in this age of AI, and just things are moving so quickly and things like that. And that you kind of like, if you want to be on the frontier and like really be on the edge of it, like you have to really, it's a lot of work to do it. Like, because it's just like, it's exhausting, because literally every day there's a new model or a new harness or a new update, and it's literally accelerating because we're in this like, singularity moment or whatever. And so it's just going exponential, and there's more and more and more. It's just, it's accelerating, and it's exhausting to keep up with it, but if you stay like with it, and keep on trying the new stuff and really stay close to that edge, then I think those are going to be the kind of the companies and the people that are just going to really be able to do the most, in this kind of new age of AI that we're going into. But it's not easy. And I think a lot of people are resisting that, which is really a bummer. But I think it's all about that mindset, like you mentioned, and having that,
So this is a question I just came up with, and I actually don't even know my own answer to it. So I'm curious how you answer. But when you think about the skill set of being like someone who's good at AI, I think it's a lot different than a traditional skill set. Like if you're good at engineering, you know how to write code in a certain language, or you know how to do something like that. I mean, how do you get good at the skill of AI, and like, how do you even define it? I mean, I'm curious if you have thought there.
Yeah, totally. How do you get good at it? How do you define it? I think that the way that you get like good at it, I think that the most important thing is like the curiosity, it's like having kind of a curiosity about just developing that. And it's kind of like I don't know, it's hard to stay curious about something sometimes, because sometimes you're curious about it and you start like doing that research or learning about it, and then it's like there's some other kind of barriers in your way, and you always gotta kind of keep on doing more work at it to keep on learning it, but I think that it's something you gotta kind of protect, that curiosity and like the passion kind of for something, and I think that if people can protect that, and then just keep on going at, like, you really have this idea of something that you really want to see in the world, like some kind of outcome or something that you really want to build, whether it's like a company or a product or a service, or being hitting a new weight goal or something like that, or hitting a new or getting onto a new team or something, whatever that thing is, or getting into a club, like these different things. Like I think that if you have that kind of goal, and then you're just curious and open-minded to different ways that you might be able to accomplish it, like to get into that school or get into that program or whatever, work at that company, I think that if you can just can protect that and keep on persevering almost, then just looking out for different options and different opportunities to help you get to the next level almost. And I think that because AI is going to be that thing, is going to be the thing and the best thing that's going to help you accelerate in all of that. But there's never going to be a set way to do it. I think it's just going to change so much. And so I think it's so much about protecting that mindset. And I think that that's how you're able to kind of learn it. And the way that I would define being good at AI is just what people are able to create, kind of just generally, I think it's just what the output is, or what people are able to create, what the result is that they're generating, and what the output is of what they, and how good is that output, and I do think that kind of like you mentioned, that output is something a little bit of it takes a little human sauce, a little bit of you're picking and choosing which different nodes to use in your little thing that you want to build, how to string them together. You're kind of making your own little recipe or whatever, when you want to make that image or video or, whatever the thing is that you're making. So, long answer, but that's how I kind of think about it. I think that curiosity is so important because and then like if you're just open, I'm open to trying whatever tools, or like whatever the best thing is to try to create this outcome. And you just stay open-minded to it. And I think that that's kind of the best way to learn it almost. But what do you think about it? What do you think?
No, I think that's super well said. I mean, how I think about it is, I mean, same thing where if you're pushing the frontier, you kind of know what's possible and what's not. I think it's more of an intuition that you're kind of building. As, for example, what I'm thinking about is right now is there's some tasks or workflows you can automate that are massive. Like if you take a task or some sort of part of the role that you want to do on a day-to-day basis and you break it down into a task by task level, say there's like 30 tasks that make up a particular part of your role. I'll give an example, like say it's for me prepping for a call and doing the follow-up and things like that in sales. I can have AI do say 95% of that, but if I try to have AI do 100% of it, it's going to fail. But that's not because AI can't automate it. It's because it can only do 95%. And this is something we've talked about before, I think, on the podcast, where the AI doesn't have enough context to do the job.
Right.
And so you have to figure out and really have that intuition on where does it need my human intuition. And maybe it's not even human intuition, but it's just where does it need my context? And so I think being able to think about it that way is something that's kind of where I'm hitting a breaking point at the moment and where I need to push further and see that through. So that's how I'm thinking about it right now. But I agree that at the end of the day, what makes you good at AI is just the output. Like, are you getting good output? Yeah. And if you're not getting good output, then you're not good at AI. Yeah. So I mean, it's all about the output, it seems. But
yeah, I think that part is like going to is so key that last 5%, that it can do a really good job. It's so good at starting, and I think that that's something like why it's such a superpower for people, because that a lot of times was the hardest thing for people was like that first, sentence of the book that they write, or whatever the first page is, or like just starting that first time they're posting, on social media, or like the first, sales call, that first thing, like the first thing is always like the hardest kind of thing. But I think like doing it 100%, like seeing it all the way through 100%, and like how do you build something that can go all the way through there? Like that's why right now, like the human and the AI, like it's so sick and it's so fun when like I feel like when you're using it the right way, it's so fun. It's like literally addicting. Like you hear about these things of like the AI like coding vampires, like dude, I feel like that's totally me. I'm like literally I'm doing it all the time. It's so fun. And it's just like the coolest time to be building. And but you need somebody to be able to be connecting the context, connecting the MCP, the right CLIs, and like setting the standard about what the good output is. Like you need that human, just like you're saying, to help this like super intelligent thing, like just like do it right,
Yeah. 100%, dude. And I like the idea that Karpathy puts out of you got to remove yourself as the bottleneck.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about trying to move my AI systems to where they're running and then they just kind of come to me when they need me. Less of like, I'm going to the AI for it to go do stuff. It's like they're doing their thing and they decide like they need Will for this. They pull me in. And that kind of shift is insane. I mean, when you think about it, it's like absolutely crazy.
But it's so cool though. I think it's so sick that you're thinking about it that way. And I think that that's fundamentally like what these kind of like harness kind of companies are doing, and like it's all about kind of constructing that kind of context around it so that it can, like do more and more and more, like, at a really good, like, or at a superhuman quality, and pushing everything for you, and then bringing the human in at that perfect point, when it needs like, that last 5% or whatever the bit is, and then it adapts, and like how the human like would loop in like that. I think that that's totally the future of like how you'd think about it. That was one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, was like, you being in sales and being and really living through and working through, before we had this like Opus 4.5 moment, the Claude Code moment, these like agents, and all this stuff. And before all of that, like, how do you think, the new kind of ideal way that you would build a sales organization would look versus kind of the old way? Like, what are kind of some of those different things that you're thinking about or noticing? That was really an interesting insight you had about like the prepping for calls thing, and how you build a system where they're pushing things forward, and they bring you in and stuff like that. But
no, I mean, I appreciate the question. I mean, I think I was part of this sales organization, Verkada, previously, and that was the state of the art sales organization in 2016. And they're still a great sales organization. I don't actually know kind of what's going on with them at the moment. I haven't been inside the organization for a couple of years now. But when I was there, this is kind of pre-AI. They were the state of the art sales organization, and it was obviously very human oriented. So now it's how do you rethink a sales organization in the age of AI? And certainly there is still a lot of need, I think, for a human to be, say, an enterprise style rep or things like that. And especially for larger purchases, like, for example, a Mach 1. I mean, maybe there becomes a day soon where we become more of a self-serve product where I'm sort of removed from that process altogether. I just kind of oversee the system. But I think for some type of companies, for example, where I was before, like Verkada, they sell physical security systems. That's about as physical as it gets. And I think there's always going to maybe want to be a person in there for trust reasons, things like that. And just unless you have literally a robot going out and walking the site and placing cameras, things like that. But I think a lot of it can be automated. For example, there's a stat that only 30% of time in a sales organization is spent customer facing on calls, talking to customers. And so what's the rest of the time? I mean, the rest of the time is literally like trying to hunt down people, trying to update your CRM, trying to do all of these tasks. And theoretically, you should be able to spend like 90% of your time customer facing. Like, you should just show up. You should spend the entire day on calls talking to people, and then you should go home because everything else should be automated. And I think that that is an extremely real possibility right now. And I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, like, we've had some pretty insane updates to Tower recently, Mach 1. And so I've spent the last 2 weeks just going crazy on automating a lot of our sales stuff. And it's insane how much different it is from a year ago from today. Like when we were in Mountain View, I mean, it is so different today that it is absolutely mind blowing. And I mean, I'm sure you feel the exact same way about this, but yeah, man, I mean, where do you think that, is there anything in your role today that still feels very human, kind of humans needed, or are you really just pushing the boundaries on like feeding your engine of how can I just automate more and more? I mean,
dude, it's so wild. It's so wild. I mean, I think that's just like you were saying. I mean, it's so cool, right? And I think this is one of the things that I love talking with you about is like, because you understand kind of these different principles across different domains like this. But I think like with sales, it's so cool hearing that I think that because then the human can spend way more time, like all of their time, ideally on the highest point of leverage, which is literally like, that's the superpower of the person. Is that they can go and talk to other people and like have these like generalized conversations and nuanced kind of things, and they can bob and weave around all that stuff that like a robot or AI can't really do, especially right now. But the AI is so good at all that paperwork stuff, like you mentioned. So I'm like, that's why like it's such an exciting time. I feel like because that person, it accelerates them to do ideally what they love to do or what they're really good at, which is like talking with people and like helping them understand these kind of things and working through all these nuances. And I feel like that's why I'm having like the AI like vampire moment kind of thing, like for me, because I'm having so much fun, because I feel like I'm always at like pretty much always at like my highest leverage point, where I'm just able to work on the things that I think are really cool and interesting. Like for me, it's kind of like setting like what that taste is, like what that kind of the ideal, like what it should look like. So like the like what the video like output should look like, you know. And it's for me kind of doing it a lot like the old fashioned way, usually like very manually, like kind of like a precise scalpel of crafting it out just the way that I want to, whether it's in Figma or like, you know, with my like normal like video editing tools or whatever. But like, you know, making and crafting that out, or writing even, you know, like writing too. I mean, I still think these models aren't fantastic at writing, like even just like writing the, like and feeding these things into it to kind of build that harness around it to give it the right context so that it can create the right kind of output. That's what I'm so hyped about doing that. And it's so fun because I feel like I get to like be thinking a lot more creatively about like how do we keep on leveling that part up? Like that the taste of it, like making cooler videos, because these things for me, I feel like, and for all companies, I feel like it's a force multiplier. It just unlocks new capabilities that you just couldn't do before. You know, I think you're mentioning that before too. And it's just, you just couldn't do them before. Like these motion graphic things, bro, it's blowing my mind. I mean, that, you know, like you and I have worked on this little thing, like the shout out to the motion.so, you know, kind of tool. We kind of messed around with that a little bit. We messed around with some of these different like motion graphic tools, making videos and stuff. And it is wild, dude. Like that kind of stuff. I used to do it like the old way, like it was. Dude, it was so hard. It took so long. Like I remember spending like at Cal Poly, like in college, like spending like days trying to do like a 30-second little thing, and like you have to like literally animate every frame, and just like just trying to get it to do the right thing that you have in your head. You know, it's just mind blowing to me that all of that stuff is possible now. So that's kind of how I see it. So I just feel like that's why it's so fun. And if you genuinely want to build and like what you're doing and actually want to keep on progressing the stuff that you're doing, like I feel like it's super fun. And maybe that's why some people are resistant to it, because they're not really don't care that much maybe about like driving whatever the thing is forward at work. Like, and so it's maybe not that exciting to them. But I feel like if you actually really care about that, like it's so cool, because you can just do so much, you know?
Yeah, absolutely wild. You just made me think of, you were the first guy to introduce me to Replit. You were big on Replit.
Yeah, Replit.
Like before it was big, before anyone knew what Replit was, you were on Replit, and you showed me this thing, and I was like, I cannot believe this thing. This is unreal. It felt like absolute magic, where you could just go build a website. And I'm curious how you think about this, because you mentioned you used to painstakingly build these designs.
Yeah.
And there was a moment with Replit when I showed people what I built, and they were like, dude, you're a wizard. But it was actually just me telling Replit exactly what to do. There was a short moment in time where they thought I was amazing, but I actually was not. It was just that they didn't hear the technology yet. So like, how do you stand out with the design? Because you're still making amazing designs, but it's just even a level up. Because before, being able to do that motion graphic was the separator. Now it's like, okay, doing that same motion graphic, anyone can do that. But now it's like another level up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. 100%. I think that's the question. That's totally the question, is like these things, it seems like they totally like level everything. And like, how do you stand up and stand out and make something differentiated? And like, I think that's one of the fundamental questions, is that I think everyone's going to use, you know, these things more and more. I mean, you look at like the Fable 5 model, or the GPT 5.6 model, and what's coming next after that. And then after that, like, dude, these things are going to be smart, man.
Fable,
like,
Fable 8 is going to be crazy.
People are going to be using them so much, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that just having that like kind of like vision about like what you really want to do, and you know, like what that kind of, I think that having that vision and like kind of what that end product is, you kind of want thinking like more deeply about that, and then like kind of iterating closer towards that thing is going to be the differentiating kind of skill. Like what context do you feed into the system to get that right kind of output? But I think that's the question, is like if everyone's using, you know, the models, like are they all going to like give the same answer all the time? Or is it going to be like, you know, like is all the art going to look the same, you know, because all the art was created by a model, you know, and every movie and every video game and every like piece of music, like is all of this stuff just going to be all artificially like kind of generated? And then if that's the case, like is it all going to be kind of the same quality? Or is it going to be, are we going to always live in a world where the human like adding something or shaping it can like change it, you know, in a certain way and make it different and make it better almost? But like, do we ever get to a world where the AI has this taste, you know, in all fields, that's better than any human, you know, in all fields, like it better at any, you know, at any painting or anything, right? I don't know what the thing is, but right now for sure, obviously it's like the expert, you know, shaping it, somebody giving the harness, like, you know, is huge. Like how you prompt it is everything. And there's all these system prompts and all this stuff and the Soul MD and all these different things that it's literally just text files that tell the model, like, you know, do these different, don't do this or whatever, but it's just handwritten text. But I don't know how much influence we have on that thing in the future. That's like Fable 12, like here.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever, right?
Like, what do you think about it?
I don't know, man. I think it's just, because the models, I think they're just going to be making themselves. I think that's one of the things where it becomes less and less, even when you, Anthropic released this really cool article a couple weeks ago, I think, but it was like about RSI, like recursive self-improvement, and just that it's already there, starting to get there. You know, you hear all these companies that none of the code that's written is handwritten code or like is the old OG way of doing it. Everything's totally like different now. And the AI is really doing, you know, all of it. And so I just think in that world, if it keeps on continuing down like that the people have less and less say over that, like Soul MD, you know, type thing, or like over the system prompts, like, because the AI is just going to be writing its own system prompts, and maybe, I don't know. But that's one of the things I think about that. I'm like, I don't know, like how that's all going to end up and everything. But I think that it's interesting. What do you think about these different companies? Because there's all these frontier companies, you know, which one do you think is going to win or is going to, like, you know, do really well? What do you think it's going to end up like? Because we have OpenAI. Anthropic is making like all this money, and all the researchers like Karpathy went to Anthropic, and a bunch of Google like big wigs are going to Anthropic. But you have Google too, and XAI and SpaceX and stuff, right? So they have Cursor now. Like,
I mean, I honestly don't know if I'm fully equipped to answer who's going to win, but I have some thoughts on it. I mean, obviously Anthropic, I think they passed OpenAI in terms of revenue very recently, and they obviously started way behind. And then obviously XAI has like a gigantic data center, and if space data centers are real, I mean, that could be crazy, and I'm sure they'll make a push. But then there's also the open source model topic as well. And open source models are getting super good in China, but also something that's interesting about them is that they're like, it's hard to say how close to the US they actually are, because they're kind of piggybacking off of the US models. So maybe they just optimize for trailing US models. Like, I can't speak exactly to where they would be if the US models, say they didn't have any access to the US models at all, which they shouldn't, but there's a lot of restrictions, but somehow they managed to get access. Like, would they be as advanced as they are? Because you could argue they're like 3 or 4 months behind. So I actually don't know. I mean, I feel like what I did see recently though is that it feels that the mode is switching from the model to the harness. Because the models, I mean, they're relatively similar, like a GPT codex or a Claude Code. They're pretty similar. I mean, I feel like Cursor is in an amazing place at the moment because they have so much developer data. They're training their own models.
Yeah.
SpaceX. I mean, I feel like it's hard to bet against Anthropic because they seem like a once in a generation company. So I guess I'll go with them. But I really don't know, man. What do you think?
I think I'm with you, honestly, dude. I think it's Anthropic. I think just Anthropic gets there first, kind of. I don't know. I think that whoever I think has like the kind of the best kind of like model, I think they're just gonna be able to do so much more. Like their company is gonna be able to do so much more. Their products are gonna be able to be so much better and be so. I don't know. I think OpenAI is a really good product company. You know, I think on Shoreline episode 2 or something like that, we talked about the new like OpenAI product. It's like a mystery thing, like what that's going to be. And I think those guys are going to cook up something good with like Johnny Ive and all those people. Like, I think it's going to be something cool. And so I don't know. I just think there's going to be so much cool stuff out there. And like, I think that Anthropic's going to be pretty dominant. They're going to be like the first company that gets to this, like the AGI kind of thing, or, you know, it gets like the big milestone, and like really, just because I just think that all the talent wants to work there, you know, and that they have so much momentum now and everything, like you mentioned, like from the revenue side and all that, and yeah, like, but the open source thing is really interesting, you know. I'm totally in the camp that like, those guys, they wouldn't be able to do anything without the American companies. Like all they did was like everything that they have just because they distilled stuff from, you know, like the OpenAI models and Anthropic models. And I thought it was so interesting too, how like during the whole Elon trial and Sam Altman trial, I learned this for the first time. I didn't know this, but like distilling is just like a kind of a normal thing in the valley. This is like a normal thing, like everybody kind of does, like in AI, like all the models are kind of like distilling each other a little bit. And like all the researchers, like, you know, when you imagine when Fable 5 and Mythos comes out, like all the OpenAI researchers are looking at that and studying it and everything, you know, and so everyone's kind of studying each other. But I think there's just different ways about like how aggressively you do it, and that China has done that. And I love the GLM 5.2 model. You know, we did it on our internal benchmarks at Prism with like, I use it in open code, like an open source harness, and use GLM 5.2 to kind of like do some web design stuff. And I felt like it was like on par actually with the Opus 4.8 from a design perspective. Like it was better than GPT 5.5, I think, from a design perspective.
And GL 5.2 is an American model, or they're a Chinese? It's
a Chinese open source model. It's but it's really, really good. And it's, so I don't know, but I love using, you know, Opus. I love 4.8, and like I love Fable 5, and I love GPT 5.5. I can't wait for 5.6. Like I love using those, you know, my Anthropic subscription and OpenAI subscription. So I play with some of the other stuff, you know, but it's interesting, with the open source stuff, like you mentioned. So I
saw you said you tried Fugu, the Japanese model. How was that?
Oh my gosh, dude, it was good. It was also, I felt like it was the only thing I really benchmarked it on was the design, like web design, and in comparison to Opus 4.8. And I made a video about this too, which Opus 4.8 edited the video and like did all the posting of it and everything, which was wild. And it was crazy. Most viewed, like most engaged video in the past, like I think like 6 years on my like YouTube channel. And I've been like, then AI did. I'm like, I'm so cooked.
And it was a Fugu video.
So the video was about Fugu Ultra versus Opus 4.8, and then Opus 4.8 also edited the video, and so it like cut it up and it added visuals and stuff, and it was like I was like, dude, it did a better job than me, and like I've been doing this my whole life. Like it's,
dude, you better have had Opus win the Bake Off if it made your video.
Yeah, right, totally. It did. It totally did. Or like, I mean, I felt like they were both about the same, you know, but the Fugu model was so expensive, dude. It was so expensive. Like
really?
It
even
was
though
like,
it's open source?
Yeah.
Or is it not open source? Really?
it is open source, but so it's an open source harness, but it kind of like wraps together all these different models to create that ultra output. So it's kind of like a perplexity cursor type, model council type, one of those type of things that fuses, model fusion that fuses all of them and creates that output. And so it probably uses Opus 4.8 a little bit in that output and everything, But it was like $30 or something like that, to create the output.
Wow.
For one web page design.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting. So is that route through like Open Router? So you're technically paying all of the individual model providers, or you're just paying directly to like who hosts the Fugu model?
Good question. Yeah, good question. It is just this. I mean, you pay Fugu. Like it's kind of like they have a dashboard, and you get an API key from Fugu, and I think like they handle. It's like Open Router kind of like where like they just handle all the model stuff for you, and like they pay for it, but you just pay Fugu, and you pay for your API key, and they're a lab in Japan, and yeah, it's pretty sick. It's supposed to be sick. Like on Mythos, class level. That's what it said on their benchmarks. But the benchmarks are kind of, everyone's kind of benchmarks a little bit right now. So it's kind of getting a little hard to tell. And with that, I was like, it's the same as 4.8, like Opus 4.8 for web design, at least. It's not anything like too crazy special. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that it didn't beat 4.8 if it was technically using 4.8 and then using other models that were technically more optimized for the task.
Totally. So. Yeah, I know, right? I was like, this is totally sucks. And people were in the comments like saying like, oh yeah, this is this classic thing where these things like they're all hyped up and they cost a ton, but they don't actually do that much. And, so people were, I enjoy all the dialogue around this stuff, dude. I think it's just the Wild West. Like no one knows. Everyone just figured it out. So
nobody knows. Yeah. I mean, it's wild being on, like, I think someone was saying if you're not on Twitter right now, it's almost like you can't have a straight conversation with someone who's on Twitter. Because they're it's like that meme of the guy who's got his hair like puffing out like mad scientist and he's got the scribbles on the board. And he's like trying to explain to someone, and they're just like, "Dude, what are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about?"
Yeah, totally. I know exactly what meme you're talking about. Yeah. But, dude, that's like where it's like trying to explain AI to anybody. Like this might sound like trying to explain AI to anybody. It's so true. It's like it totally. It's like totally sci-fi, like totally mind blowing. But once you get it, it's just like it's exhilarating. It's so exciting. So.
Did you see SpaceX has some sort of device they're thinking about? I haven't read about that. Have you read about that? Like the device for talking to AI? I think they're trying to come out with a similar device to like OpenAI. But I literally just saw a headline, I think, today. So
no, that's so sick. I haven't heard about that specifically. I heard that, I mean, that's sick though. I think that's going to be one of the things people are thinking about more and more is this, how do we interface with the AI? Is it like voice now? Everyone's doing a lot of voice stuff. I'm totally, this is how like AI psychosis mode I am. I got a pedal. I have a pedal down here. Yeah, so I hit the pedal, and it activates voice mode. I just start talking, and I'm like talking to Codex and talking to, Claude Code, and dude, I'm full AI psychosis mode.
That is hilarious.
It's so epic, but yeah. Then this next thing. So I think like I don't know if that's what the XAI or SpaceX thing is, but like I saw something from Meta's like super intelligence like AI team that they're trying to build this like it's a non-invasive kind of thing version of Neuralink, like a little like puck that like a sticker you put on your head, and it just allows you to like you think and the words just pop up on the screen. I
saw that too, like the telepathy type thing. Right?
So was the SpaceX thing something kind of like that you're talking about, or was it something totally different?
Literally something totally different. I think it was them talking about some sort of device that you can talk to AI through. And my impression, I honestly, let me look it up right now. I honestly think it was similar to, it says SpaceX developed slim AI handset prototype. And so I think it's similar to this OpenAI device where you have some sort of thing to communicate with AI to, or with AI with. I'm curious, how are you like, you said you have your command center, your monitor, your everything, your Hermes, your old Mac, your Mac Mini, all this stuff. Like, how do you think about where you work? Because something we've talked about before, like some of the great ideas come when you're at the gym, you're working out, and you're working out, you have a fitness app. Some of them probably come, you said you were surfing last week. Like, where do you view your work shifting away a bit from being at the command center all the time? How do you think about that?
Yeah, 100%. I think that it is going to shift there more. I don't think that it's there yet. Like for me, for like the kind of stuff like that I like to do, you know, like I'm still in like Figma, like with the visual stuff, or just like I feel like the visual interfaces and the way that I feel like you can't quite do it all from your phone yet. Like, I think that there's just still some kind of limitations where it's just faster. Like, it's just like you can do way more. Like, I can fire up like right now. As soon as Fable 5 dropped, man, I had literally like 6 terminal interfaces open, and I burned through my like limit like immediately. It like is just going to come back, I think, hopefully after this, so I can use it again. But you know, that's something you can't like quite do on your phone yet. Like maybe there's some way or some interface. Like I'm actually super excited about the glasses. I mean, you guys, like I just wear glasses, and so I just, you know, the augmented reality glasses. Like if I could pit up like all those terminals, you know, around me type thing. Yeah. Or if I was outside hiking, I could do it too, or wherever I was, if I could do it, that would be sick. And then I would totally not be at my desk. Like I would totally be out and everything. And it's funny you mentioned the surfing thing. I just think that like, being like out talking to customers, like out, like working on different stuff, meeting with people, sharing ideas, and experiencing different things like around you, and trying to, you know, bring that into your work. Like, I think that's why, like, we're really going to ratchet up, like, all the kind of stuff that humans create, I think, in these coming years, which is going to be so exciting. I've been working on this surfing app, Peak Surf. I got to do this with you, dude. But I went out and like went surfing with my dad out down in Santa Cruz. We went to the Hook, and and basically that's like a surfing journal. I'm trying to make the best surfing journal like ever. It started as like a senior project, and so it's like this surfing journal. And so I go with my dad, and then we're in the car, and then we're both trying to log it. And so I'm sitting next to him watching him. You know, we're both like seeing, and we notice all these things that are super clunky about it. You know, that are really not working and stuff like that. And so then I pop out like my voice memo on my phone, and we're just both talking through the different things as he's, you know, and so I have this voice memo text, and I just get home and feed it to Codex, and it just goes and rips it, you know, and then submits it to Apple, and then it just cool. So and it's by being really out there though, like surfing and having these kind of things, and it's just, I feel like that's something that just, technology being something for me, I want to like be something that enriches those moments, you know, like surfing or like, you know, going to the gym and stuff where you can track it. You can see like, dude, I hit 185 last time, I'm going for like 190 this time for 5 reps. Like just these little different things how we can use technology to help enrich like that kind of stuff. I'm really excited about. So that's how I kind of think about it though, dude. But
that's so cool, man. No, I think that's so cool. I mean, I was thinking like, I don't know. I feel that sometimes when you come to work in software, say after school or whatever it is, like it's easy to not really understand what software actually is. So I think some of these experimentations are so cool, like using an app, like a surfing app, really understanding that. And I think something I've thought about recently is that the non-technical people are getting more technical, and the technical people are getting less technical, and they're kind of meeting like on either side of the wall, so to speak. I mean, like the technical people are still over here, like they still know more than me. I consider myself somewhat technical, but not like as technical as an engineer. But in order to be using these tools, you have to be interfacing with things you never would have before. Like you got to be talking MCP, API, like the CLI, all this stuff. And so I feel like that's kind of interesting as well. Some I've been thinking about, like, I don't know, how do you define software?
Oh my gosh. How do I define software? I guess it's how anything like an application that you interface with that is like on a screen, you know, or that's not, I guess, like on some kind of digital interface.
Yeah.
I guess is how I would kind of define it. But I guess there's also like software is also things that you're not necessarily always interfacing with from like a front end perspective. Like maybe it's something that some kind of back end system or something like that you're talking to and everything. But I think that it just, the definition of it, I think is, I don't know, I think it's kind of liquid, but I'm curious like how you'd kind of define it. I think that it's going to change, you know, and like people are kind of thinking about like how does AI change that, and is AI also software? Like, is it something that's separate from software that you kind of connect it to? Is it another kind of layer and everything? I'm in the camp where like I think it's kind of a totally separate piece of technology and totally something that's kind of separate that can build software and interface with software. But I think that they're kind of separate. But yeah, I don't know. How do you think about it? Like, how would you define software?
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting to. I mean, I think about like if I think of like a Salesforce, for example, like what even is Salesforce? Well, it's just basically a way to organize. Like it would have been files before, and that would have been a disaster to organize. But it's kind of interesting too, because in some way, if you had a file cabinet, maybe it would actually be more organized than Salesforce, because I don't think people think that much about what even is Salesforce. You know, like I haven't thought about it until recently. Like what even is it? It's literally a digital filing cabinet. I feel like you're totally right that AI is just different. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I have a super profound answer on what is software, but I'm kind of curious about what it actually is. Like, what is it deeply?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why I'm drawn to that, but.
No, I think it's a really interesting question. You know, as you're talking about, I'm like, and I'm thinking about it too, you know, like, I'm just like, I don't know, like maybe it's just anything that's written, that is created by code, you know, that's written by code, and that it's something that's why AI is so good at, and it was like, it's being able to create software is one of the first frontiers that it really excelled at, is that it is so good at writing code, and that also, but then you know, you start to think of it, it gets as kind of crazy as you want to take it, because then you zoom out even more, and then it's like, well, the AI, you know, that's code, you know, it's all weights, it's all ones and zeros, like that's what code is too. So is AI software then, or what's the distinction there? And then like, you know, a lot of like biological things in the physical world around us is really all kind of code in a certain way, you know, chemistry and these types of things like atoms and molecules, it's the DNA of things, like, right? It's all kind of code. Like physics is kind of like the code of the universe. And that's why I think that AI is really going to be something that's really exciting, you know, with this whole grok like aspect of approaching it, like discovering the universe, is because I really think that it's like that physics is kind of like the code that you can study that, and you can learn to read, you know, the code. And that's something that I guess you have to do as like an engineer and stuff. And it's just, but yeah, dude, I think that's a good question. Like, it's just a mind-bending time that we are living in right now, right? Like,
it's absolutely insane.
Yeah,
I can't. What a time to be alive, man! What a time to be alive.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's sick. It's like we have this thing that is an answer machine. It's a magical box that just gives you the answer, but like it creates more questions than ever. Like it's just, we have more questions. I feel like I have more questions than ever, than like, what is how? So it's just really fun. I think that's the thing is I would wrap with is just saying like, you know, just, I think curiosity is so cool. And that's, I think we get to do this podcast and this kind of thing too, is like kind of just being curious and like exploring and stuff. It's sick, you know? So I think that's the biggest thing.
Impossible is temporary.
Yeah, let's go, right? Let's go. Okay,
let's go.
Dude, thanks for doing this. That was all fun as always. So we gotta do it again, fun, dude.
Man. We gotta do it again. We gotta do it more, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure. As you dig into Fable, you gotta let me know. Let me know what you think about it and everything. Like what you're.
I will, dude.
So.
Yeah, are you doing anything for the 4th or not?
I'm going, dude. Tomorrow morning, I'm driving down to the Olympic Training Center. So I have a
sick.
Yeah, my team's getting.
Is that in LA or where?
It's down in like Chula Vista, like San Diego kind of area.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna get down there. Team's gonna get down there and do like a little training camp, like have practice on Friday and on Saturday, like on the 4th, and then on Sunday we have a competition there.
Okay.
So it'll be fun. Like one of my old buddies from Cal Poly, he competes for the French team now, so he's going to be there too.
Nice.
It's going to be kind of sick. I haven't seen him in a minute, so dude, it's going to be good, man. I'm stoked, but it'll be kind of cool being at the Olympic, the OTC, you know, for the 4th. But what about you?
So cool, man. I'm going to go down to Carmel for the day, hang with my fam, and then probably cruise back up to the city. So should be good, man. I'm probably get some work in the next couple of days, and yeah, dude, just keep hammering. So, but that's sick, man. You gotta you should check out the diner on the way down there.
Yeah, I know, right, dude. No, I'm saving it. We gotta go there together sometime. So I gotta plan that out.
We got it.
We'll go there and do a podcast there in the car.
That would be so sick. We got a Starlink from the Tesla eating the Tesla diner food.
Yeah.
With the pole vault, with the pole on the top.
With the poles on the top, yeah. Damn, dude. All right, dude, thanks so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you, man. Always a blast.
All right.